Okay, let's go.
He wants to jump
1,000 cars. Sir, you have 1,000 cars.
I don't think I'd attempt to try this stunt.
Or we owe this horsepower to Uncle Sam.
Too many cars.
Car. Roses would be.
Like I put my beer belly on it.
If you can't immediately tell somebody how many cars you have,
You'll really give those uppity yuppies something to think about.
Stay on the bar. Don't go off the bar with your Bronco.
1980 Volvo horns, which are like,
Yeah.
I want to have a man's coolant.
and he's like, "Oh, I thought it'd be small. It's for a small car." And I'm like, "Yeah, but it's still an automatic transmission. They're never going to be light."
It's definitely going to have to crash.
Starting off with Brad buying another car.
That's the West. Internets.
Is this a Nigerian oil print?
I also wish you drove a tan Camry.
Anyways,
Anyway,
that's a
horrible,
very
horrible podcast content.
very
Talking about a picture.
inside joke.
It loves to be driven hard.
All right. Welcome to Auto Off Topic. Hi, Brad. How are you?
I am warm. It's warm here in the valley.
It's warm? Yeah,
It's warm.
it's warm.
Summer is here.
Well, it is the middle of July. Not quite the middle of July, but it's...
It's definitely not the middle of July. The day we're recording, for future reference, is July 2nd, otherwise known as the middle of July.
Well,
Middle of the
I
year.
meant middle of summer.
Sure.
It is the middle of the year.
Yes.
It's pretty much the middle of the year. So
I mean, it's not pretty much middle of the year. July is the 6th month, right? So
7th.
that gives us... No, 7th month. I mean, so
Yeah,
we're
we're
at,
beyond.
like, pretty much at the
We're
middle.
now, people are posting, we're now closer to 2050 than 2025.
What?
So 2025 is now closer to 2050 than it was to the year 2000, is what they mean. Is what I meant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, neither one of us can talk today. July 2nd's the middle of the month. July's the 6th month, and 25 plus 50
Do you
is
come to this
closer
podcast
25
for
20
facts? No. This is all about vibes.
automotive facts. That's it. And even those sometimes suspect.
Yeah, there's a whole Discord channel you can yell at us at about.
Yeah,
episode.
I got yelled at pretty good for my 25% of the height of the tire by dividing it into quadrants, which I understand is not 100% accurate, but it's a general feeling of how
Sure.
it works.
I was like, whatever. I know what he means.
Yeah, I understand that it's not an exact science, and each quadrant of the tire is an exact quarter inch different than the other tire, but it's just more of an overall.
It's an aspect ratio.
Yes, exactly. And I was giving a 1,000-foot view of how it works without getting specific. It sort of works that way. It's about a quarter of an inch the whole way around. So, whatever. Anyway, works out because they're on your car and they fit and life is good. And I think we already talked about that, so we'll move on. Do you want to go right into it today, Andrew? Or do you want to talk about something unrelated to old cars?
Hit me with it. What do you got?
I think we've had this general conversation before, but a new car has come out that has made me realize that it's even worse now than it's been. It's time for another 1973 car insurance is too high. Let's stop making fast cars because they've gotten too fast. Have you seen the specs on this stupid new Corvette?
I thought that was fake. Like, I thought that was a fake, like, boomer bait post. And I didn't look anything into it. But then I got a car and driver issue and it's on the front. So it's a front electric hybrid Corvette?
No, not even the electric hybrid one. The new, is it ZR1 or Z06? Now I'm even forgetting exactly.
That was
what it is.
ZR1L or something, isn't there? Like, there's an extra digit? I don't know what it is.
So there's a brand new one coming out that's 1,064 horsepower, and it's the ZR1.
Okay. 1064. Sure. Whatever that means.
But it doesn't make any sense as to why we're making a 1,064 horsepower car that you can just go to the store and buy.
Because they'll sell them.
They shouldn't sell them. They shouldn't sell them. You shouldn't be able to buy it. It shouldn't be a thing. It's a sub $200,000, 1,000 plus horsepower car from the factory. There's a problem with that, and I don't know what it is, and I don't know if I'm just being grumpy. And I can't even say I'm being a grumpy old man on this because this car is aimed at old men. There are going to be any number of octogenarians that are driving these things into trees. So
They'll never drive them. These are all Corvettes are garage queens.
hey, they go to
There's
car
like a-
shows.
There's like a very small amount.
They go to car shows and they quarter throttle into the car in front of them leaving because it's
And
a
it'll-
1,064 horsepower.
It's all right, whatever. They're gonna have their little boards. Mine was the 10th one, built on Friday.
I
by
just think
Larry
it's
and Joe, and they signed the engine.
I just think it's a little absurd, and I don't mean to be that like grumpy person about it, but it doesn't make any sense to me for there to be multiple 1,000 horsepower cars you can just go buy,
Yeah.
and I don't think it needs to exist.
Doesn't bother me. I'm not gonna buy them.
It bothers me because they're on the roads with us, and people aren't given like lessons on how to drive them. That's I think what bothers me. Like we've talked about it before. It used to be if you wanted to go fast, like real fast, you had to have the knowledge of how to make your car go real fast, not just turn it on and push the buttons. So it used to be something you earned, and if you didn't want to do it, you didn't have to do it. I guess you still don't have to do it, but if you wanted a 300 horsepower car, that was an accomplishment. Now it's not anymore, and a 1,000 horsepower car is, and I just think it's dumb. And anytime that cars keep getting faster, our old cars are just that much more dangerous, and that makes me upset.
It's not like there's gonna be like a lot of these out there because they are still like
Sure,
199,000 horse.
yeah, they're 175 to 199, I think is the range. But still, what I think my main concern is the fact that this car exists is that there's going to be all that trickle down technology, and these parts are going to be available for cheaper and for lesser cars. And what's to stop GM from making 1,000 horsepower cars in the future that are not $200,000? I don't know. It just seems it seems
Okay.
reckless.
My God.
It seems reckless.
Sure.
Let
Sure,
me
I-
be mad about it,
just-
Andrew. Let me be conspiracy theory mad about it. All right.
I guess I mean I like what GM. I like the thing about GM making fast cars is like you can buy CTS Brembos and put them on a DSM for like $300.
Sure. I guess that's a good thing,
Yeah.
a positive thing in the long run. But
So, yeah,
I
they should
I don't even
make
know
all these parts
why
cheap.
I don't know why I'm so angry about it. I just I
I don't know
just
either.
don't I just don't see a reason to continue to chase this 1,000 horsepower plus number. Like it just doesn't. It's that whole bench racing thing, like invalidating cars that are not 1,000 horsepower, basically, to the normie people who I guess I shouldn't care about. But
Yeah, what
for
do you
some
care
reason-
about other people that you don't? Do you care
I
about
don't
the
know,
person that's
Andrew.
like, this is the 14-year-old that's like, this is my favorite car. I'm going to own one.
I'm
Sure
just
you are,
tired
buddy.
of hearing about
Sure
it.
you are.
I'm just 300 horsepower used to be like, oh my god, your car is 300 horsepower. Now it's like, yeah, your car is 300 horsepower. So does my company van or whatever. So anyway, I'm just unreasonably mad, and I can't give you a true reason as to why, other than the fact that I think it's just ignorant to exist. So, and maybe
Okay.
that's what it's for. Maybe it's for ignorance. Maybe that's why it exists. But I don't like it. I don't like it. Anyway, project car stuff, Andrew. What have you done this week?
I let's see. I went through the
Did you make a 1,000 horsepower V8 for your Volvo?
yes.
Podcast
No.
over.
I got the I got some from McMaster car. I got some and it's like McMaster CARR. If you don't know what that is, McMaster car. It's like a
Yeah, they're a
supply
hardware
house.
company, not a car
Yeah.
company. Yeah.
These little brackets I needed for the Volvo throttle rod that comes off the pedal because I only had one of the plastic ones, and the guy that sold it to me was like, "Oh, I don't have the other one," and everybody was like, "Just go to the hardware store and get something." And I was like, "Sure, I'll just go to a hardware store the hardware store. There's so many hardware stores around that just have stuff like this. Because it's just like it's like a two-hole like U-shaped bracket. And, because everybody's just like, that just looks like a thing you get at the hardware store. It's like, well, yeah, it looks like it, but is it exactly? No.
Yeah, it looks like something you'd use to like strap conduit to the wall.
Yeah. So, you could I could probably maybe photogrammatically, whatever it is, scan it and have somebody 3D print it. But I looked through the catalog and found they're like pipe insulator brackets. It basically looks like a sway bar mount and bracket, like a basic U-shaped bracket with a rubber insulator in there. It's basically like a bushing. The thing about McMaster is they have all the mechanical drawings on there, and you can look at all your measurements and compare and find something that's really close. Much easier than going to a hardware store and just randomly looking through containers.
Sure,
And
if you can find anything like that in the hardware store.
yeah, because that would not be anything like that would not be at a Home Depot.
Maybe at an Ace Hardware, and even that's a maybe.
Yeah, I gotta find one. They're not super common, and they're kind of far away. But anyway, I found what I was looking for. Very, very close in diameter of what I needed. It was tight. So then my dad suggested if you screw it down to a piece of wood, then you can run a drill bit through it to make it slightly bigger. So I found the right size drill bit and made them slightly bigger, and it fits around that rod really well. It lines up with the holes in the car. It doesn't bind. I threw a little grease on it. So that should do the job. And then I should probably write that up for other people so they know what to look for. Because it feels like, it feels like those little plastic things probably break pretty easily. Or maybe they don't.
Yeah, especially now the car's 60 years old. Like or 55 years old. So yeah, it's going to have brittle plastic and metal. As long as it's not rotted, it's going to be good.
Yeah, and maybe they never break, and maybe they never disappear, and that's why everybody thought it was crazy. It's like, well, the person before me that owned the car threw them away for whatever reason. So
because they made that cool spring-loaded gas pedal. My guess is that they probably are destroyed on most cars.
Yeah,
and there's probably some slop in there that people don't realize is there.
Probably.
So,
because even the one I had it was a little bit broken, and I super glued the piece back together. So.
Right.
But yeah, so I get that. The idler arm bushing we noticed when we were moving the car around when you were visiting here was super loose. So I ordered one of those. Not very expensive, like less than $10. Came out of the arm really easy. And then my dad and I were trying to put it back together. And we're trying to use a threaded rod and some washers to put it together, press it in there. We weren't exactly pressing on the outer sleeve, we're pressing on the inner sleeve. And as it got almost all the way in, it ballooned the rubber between the two, the inner and outer sleeves, and basically just mushroomed out and wouldn't go any further. So I was like, cool, that's ruined. So I ordered another one, and we'll give it another try. And we found a better fit press part, like a different socket that'll hopefully press just on the outer sleeve to push it in. So, because I think what's happened is once it's pressed into the arm and then you tighten it down onto the pivot, it must squish out the bushing. That's what takes up the play. So,
okay.
It's kind of
So
weird.
you need to squish after you put it together, not before you put it together.
Yeah. But luckily it wasn't very expensive, but it's just kind of an annoying thing.
Those are annoying things. You think you have everything to fix the car properly, and then you ruin the one part you're trying to fix.
So, then speaking of more bushings, I bought a set. I think I bought them when I did the rear spoiler on the Talon. They're from, I'll call them out because they're really nice parts. So DSM 3D Creations. So speaking of missing bushings and stuff and 3D printing, this guy 3D prints stuff for DSMs. and they were shifter bushings, and I have a set for the Talon, and I have a set for the Gallant. Because all of a sudden, I think last fall when I went to the dumb show that was annoying, that I don't want to talk about anymore, give them more press they don't need. The shifter was like a little bit loose, like looser than I remember. So I was like, I should probably get to that. And I meant to do it over the winter because it's definitely something you can just do in the garage. But anyway, I did it last night. Took the whole console out. Yeah, the upper, there's like 3 pivot points on the shifters in these cars. And this is the topmost one that goes like side to side, passenger to passenger. It had no bushings left in it. Like they were at the bottom of the shifter base in a pile of dust.
So you just had a metal
disintegrated.
rod that was smaller than the hole it was going through.
Yeah, so it was like had a super ton of play. I mean, it's not going to fall apart on you because it's bolted together. It's just going to feel awful. The other bushings weren't as bad. There's the lever arm that's on the back that does like the other cable. That bushing, the bottom one was gone. The top one was barely holding on. So it was good that the kit comes with all those, so I was able to replace that one. The 2 middle ones that are kind of on the side to side, like when you would check to see if the shifter's in neutral, like that. Those bushings are actually in really good shape. So, it's fine. I put new ones in anyways and greased everything up with some Molly grease, and the difference is incredible. I even noticed that I didn't realize that the rubber stop. Have you ever seen one of these shifters taken apart? There's like a rubber stop at the bottom for front to rear.
Not in a long time, but
That was completely missing. There's a metal piece that was hitting, but there's a rubber piece that's supposed to take up some of the slack. So that was completely gone. But he 3D prints a new triangle stopper piece that presses over that. So it takes that back up where the rubber should be.
nice.
Yeah, it's they're real nice. And I was in the garage tonight. I pulled out the Gallant to wash it because I'm going to take it for a little drive tomorrow, a little trip over the weekend. And I was like, oh, I want to check the Talon ones. And it's funny, the upper one that's like front to back, the top one that was gone on the Gallant, those are like seemingly okay. But the side to side ones are like gone. And I was like, I don't
Oh, that's
remember.
weird.
Maybe they were like always gone because I put a J&Z short throw in there, which is a super rare part, a long time ago. But maybe they just disintegrated. I don't know. So that's going to be my next like weeknight project because it only took
You
like
definitely owned
hour.
that car longer than bushing life normally would be.
Yeah,
so-
probably. I had the base bushings in both the cars forever because those are just aluminum. You just pop them in. This guy does 3D print versions of those if you need them. But I had the Talon has the old, and I can't remember what they were called. The aluminum ones. There's like a name for them, or they're stainless or something, or just steel. There was a name for them. You used to buy them from DSM Diamond Star Motorsports or something. They
DSM Motorsports or Mach 5 or
Mach
some
5,
other company.
that's what it is. Mach 5
Some
had it.
company doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, no, maybe Mach 5 still around. I don't know. They started doing Subaru stuff, but that's where they came from. I forgot what they were called. Gosh, it's been so long that I've forgotten what mods were called on that car. Ugh. But yeah, that's all the regular project cars, and then I think I've talked about it before that Stephanie's car, her Crosstrek, was making a whirring noise, and I thought maybe it was
Yeah, you thought it was a wheel bearing, maybe?
Yeah, or the carrier bearing in the center, and it's progressively gotten kind of worse. And I've been driving around this week. I let her take my car. She's on vacation. It's definitely, I took my dad for a ride again. It's definitely the rear diff. Like the rear diff is going on this car, which is insane because it only has 70,000 miles on it.
Yeah, it seems odd.
and
Doesn't it seem like,
it's-
is that a service interval thing for Subaru?
The fluid is inspection only at 60,000 miles, which I inspected it last year, and it was clean. It didn't have any metal in it. I'm curious now. But I don't know why. I just was kind of annoyed. Probably it was starting to get a little noisy last summer, and that was when I switched from like winters to summers, and the noise stayed the same. And I was like, whatever, this is kind of annoying. I'll look into it. And yeah, we definitely kind of ignored it. And then the other night, I found there's a TSB to put heavier or different gear oil in it if it starts making noise. But I feel like this is beyond the point where like I should have done it like a year ago. But I don't know. Of course, it's like the diff can go bad if the customer drives a lot in extreme conditions like snow and going uphill. And I'm like, is that not driving everywhere?
Extreme conditions like
New
driving.
England?
Yeah.
Like I was thinking about all that car does is sit in stop and go traffic, going into Boston every day, and then leaving. It's uphill on the Tobin Bridge, and then there's like an uphill on Route 1. So like normal
But those
driving.
aren't even like hills. You're not driving up like a mountain. You're driving up a very gradual grade that you could drive a loaded 18-wheeler at 80 miles an hour up.
Yeah,
It's not like
we're not off-roading. I'm not drag racing the car. It has 150 horsepower and maybe 200 foot-pounds of torque. Like, what the hell? So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to, this is the holiday week. Next week, I'm just going to call the dealer. Maybe they charge me $200 to diag it. Sure, I'll let you guys diag it. You tell me what it is. And, because I think I'm pretty confident it's a rear diff. And then we'll go from there. And if the car's way out of warranty, but you give me the diagnosis and I'll call Subaru America.
Then you whine and complain a lot.
I am, because it's like, that's a ridiculous thing. I've had so many four-wheel drive cars that made way more horsepower, and I've driven way harder that haven't gone through diffs. Like,
yeah. I mean, I don't know what kind of mileage your Talon has. I had almost 200,000 on it when I finally gave up. And the rear diff, I don't think I ever changed the fluid on.
No. And this feels like, well, if they put the wrong type of fluid in it, that's on them. Like,
sure.
And even if I can get them to just cover the part, fine, I'll pay the labor to change it because it's out of warranty. But
I wonder what labor is there at your dealer network.
Oh, I'm sure it's $200 an hour. That's a lot of dealers are huge money now.
Yeah. I'm curious.
I'm sure to change a diff, it's probably $500 in labor or more. And I bet that part is probably $1,500 to $2,000.
Oh, I can almost guarantee it's that. Yeah.
Yeah. That feels insane, but we own the car. We don't make payments. So it's like, well, I'd fix it regardless because it's a silly thing to throw it away over.
Sure.
But it also shouldn't have broken with that low mileage.
Yeah. And you're also not quite ready to trade it in on a new car yet. So
no. And the other thing I need to like give it a deep clean. It's not like super dirty, but I like to bring, especially if you're trying to get stuff like that. Because I know I would judge people that would come into my dealerships when I worked there. If they came in with a completely disgusting, dirty car that's beat to death and looking for Goodwill warranty work, you'd be like, well, you don't take care of your car. Why should we?
Yeah, exactly.
Goodwill the parts for you. So, because
also when you bring a car in clean, they treat it better anyway.
Yeah, because it is. I mean, it's average mileage. I don't think it's super low mileage, but it's 70. I just looked at it. It's like almost 71,000 miles on it for 2018.
What year is that car?
2018.
So that's almost 10 years.
Yeah. That feels
7-8 years.
Insane.
You probably bought it in 2017.
We ordered it October 2017. Yep.
So you got it in the end of 2017. So say 7 years.
Yeah.
So that's I think less than the average.
It is less than the average because she doesn't drive to work every single day. And we had COVID where the car probably moved 100 miles.
Yeah.
Because she was also pregnant, so she didn't go anywhere that year because of all the stuff going on. I know I only put like 5,000 miles on my Volkswagen that year, so that's probably what we were driving, not her car.
Yeah, it's like 10,000 miles a year. So
yeah. that, and it's not, and yeah, it just, to me, that just doesn't feel like that part should have failed. If it had 150,000 miles on the thing, I'd be like, all right, yeah, I guess the diff went bad.
But it has to have that.
Yeah.
And this
And
is
I-
not 1965 where it's like, I expect my car to last between 70 and 85,000 miles, and then it's
Yeah.
basically trash.
Yeah, and if it had that many miles on it, I'd just grab a junkyard diff, but it doesn't. So to me,
You probably
with
couldn't
70K
find a junkyard diff with less miles on it.
No, I don't think so. Maybe you could if the car was hitting the nose or something, but yeah, to me that's like, for us, for AOTists, 70,000 miles is like a brand new car.
Oh, absolutely. Anything under 180 is a brand new car.
Yeah. So, anyway, that's my complaint about new cars.
It's more logical than my complaint about new cars being too powerful.
Yeah, I just don't think they make these new Subarus like they used to.
I mean,
Or
I don't
simply
think they've
just
made...
a spec issue with the oil.
I think Subaru's had problems for a long time, even how they used to. There's still a lot of cars that are broken a lot. So I've always thought that Subarus were never quite, they weren't quite there reliability wise with the other big Japanese manufacturers.
Well, it's funny. This is actually, I shouldn't complain. It's actually the only issue we ever had with the car. Still does blow blue smoke every once in a while, but it hasn't done that recently. So I don't know what that was about or what that's about.
It was
so
your
that's a
diff
little weird.
fluid leaking into your exhaust.
Yeah, I
and then,
guess. Yeah, it's going right back into the engine.
Weird.
Yeah.
Well, that's annoying, but hopefully they do something for you. If not, show that it's not that at all, and it is something simple. I mean, maybe we've been known to be wrong before. So, or maybe really genuinely just putting a different diff fluid in there will quiet it down. Who knows?
This is my other theory. It's like the same thing with the carbon blast on the Volkswagen. Yeah, I paid for it, which is kind of annoying. But if it's wrong and it doesn't fix it, the dealer owns it now, and they can keep fixing it until it's fixed.
If they say they're gonna Goodwill it.
Well, even if they say, well, yeah. So that's the point. Yeah, if they decide that it also needs a diff and they will Goodwill it, and then they do the diff and it's not the diff, well,
They've
now you
already
guys-
opened the ticket.
yeah. Now you guys got to
Yeah.
figure it out. So
Well, other than the diff, it's
and
a
it's
wheel
not
bearing.
like I don't
so
feel
it's not
bad.
like it's gonna be anything crazy.
Yeah, you should never feel bad. You're not putting the dealer out.
No.
The tech's getting paid for all his work,
Yep.
and the dealer is going to eventually get paid somehow. They'll take it from
Well,
someone.
Yeah, Subaru will pay them eventually.
Yeah.
So every dealer group gets a certain amount of goodwill they can give out for customer service reasons. So I'm sure you'll be more than covered, and Subaru will take care of it. And even if they don't, I'm pretty sure that who's your local Subaru dealer, Ira, who's now owned by Group 1 Automotive,
No,
a multi-billion-dollar national.
I did not like them at all, so I went to the other Subaru dealer, Subaru Wakefield.
Oh, okay. They're probably more independent.
I honestly have no idea. They just
I'm
I
sure
had been
someone
working
knows
for
them.
IRA for a while and then I wasn't working for them, and we wanted to buy a car, and I was like, well, I don't want to buy it from IRA because they suck. So
Sure. Which isn't even IRA anymore. It's, I think, Group 1 Automotive out of Texas.
yes, but it's still called IRA because they kept the name.
Correct.
And that family opened up it's dumb. Don't get us started on dealerships.
They make you more angry than New ZR ones.
Yeah.
I had another service writers in general just make me angry. So I was at a shop yesterday, not a dealer shop, an independent, but a big chain out here. And I was waiting for the service writer to show me a car for work because I look at, insurance claims for work. And I was just listening to him talk to the customer he was on the phone with and telling the customer that it's normal that every new turbo car needs a new turbo between 70 and 100,000 miles. And we should just blame the government because the government forced them to put turbos on cars because there was no way they were going to meet fuel efficiency standards without them. But he doesn't understand why they put turbos on cars because they're not anywhere near as fuel efficient as they should be because of the turbo. And the government only gave them 2 years to figure it out. So they didn't have any time to learn how to do it right. So they just slapped turbos on existing power plants and put them out there into the market. And now they're all breaking at 70,000 miles. And I was like, what? What story are you telling your customer? And what new car needs a turbo at 70,000 miles? That's also not normal. So, service riders, man. I don't want to say they're all bad, but introduce me to a good one because I haven't seen one in a long time. It's just, there's probably nuggets of truth in there, right? Like, yes, they use turbos to make cars more efficient to hit fuel efficiency standards, but it wasn't like they were given 3 days to slap turbos on a bunch of existing power plants. So anyway, yeah, that's service riders. They're wonderful people. But what else you got? Project Car, Andrew, you done anything else?
No, that's all I got for now. Keep saying every week. I'm definitely next week. We're getting that engine in the bowl.
Sure. I was supposed to help you put it in when I was there in May. It didn't work, so maybe this time.
Yeah.
I saw you painted the
the
parts
brake
under
booster.
the hood.
Yeah, that came out all right.
I think that black with crappy paint looks better than red with crappy paint. So
Yeah. I'm definitely going to leave the rest of the engine bay alone. I'm not going to spray it because I'm worried about paint reaction and just it looking worse. So I'll just leave it. It's fine.
my
Embrace
guess is
the
there was some kind of
rattiness.
brake fluid residue on there.
I guess I cleaned that whole thing with Simple Green and stuff. So I don't know. I think it was VHT epoxy paint reacted with whatever red automotive paint they used to spray everything.
Or not automotive paint.
Yeah, what would you paint a whole car with if it wasn't automotive paint?
Well, my guess is whoever painted the outside of the car probably didn't paint the engine bay parts.
It looks like they just sprayed the whole thing over it.
Yeah. My assumption is that the stuff under the hood was painted later by an overzealous owner with a can of red spray paint. But maybe I'm wrong.
I don't
It's
know.
just my guess.
I took out like all the extra bolts that were drilled in there. So I got a bunch of holes. I got some grommets to fill them in because I was like, oh, right, those are through the wheel well. That'll just be, if I drive the car in the rain, it'll just be throwing water up into my air filter. So I have to plug all those holes.
It's water meth injection. Should add the
Yeah.
meth.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So just yeah, it was just like, it's just gonna be kind of a ratty Volvo. So like
Whatever. It'll be rad when it's done anyway.
just gonna embrace it.
I would probably still do the black stuff, but that's just me.
What black stuff?
All the stuff we said we were going to paint black to make it kind of disappear or
Paint what
not
black?
be as visible. What are the other parts we were going to paint black other than the brake booster?
Nope, that's the only thing that's
All the
black over there.
brackets and... Oh, okay.
No,
Well, fine. Never mind.
we'll just leave the rest of it. It's fine.
I have some minor Project Car update stuff.
Okay.
Minor as in I've done some more testing. But before we get to that, I have another automotive Project Car down date, unfortunately.
Okay.
So I was driving the Eclipse actually yesterday, I think, maybe the day before yesterday. And all of a sudden the AC got warm. And I was like, huh, that's odd. But I'm not going to worry about it. Maybe it's needs to be charged. Maybe it lost a bit of Freon because there is a very slight leak. Last time it lasted 5 years. I just refilled it last year, I think. It's like maybe the leak's gotten worse and I should figure out what a leak is, but I could probably just top it off. And, it's been like 110 degrees here, so it's been warm. And then I got to the next intersection, and I'm sitting at a stoplight, and there was a alarming amount of smoke coming out from under the hood. Like an alarming amount. And then I couldn't stop right there because it was the middle of the intersection. So I made a U-turn when I could and pulled into the parking lot close by, and the smoke went away. But it had a putrid rubber smell, and I was like, I wonder if one of the pulleys, like a idler pulley or a tensioner pulley somewhere, seized, and I burnt the belt off. But then I was like, I don't know. I also feel like if that was the case, the air conditioning compressor still would have been spinning, and it still would have been making cold air. So I limped the car home. Thankfully, I was only about 1.5 miles away. Pulled in the driveway and opened the hood and had Naomi sit in the car and cycle the AC. And you can hear the clutch like engage and then not spin, and the outer pulley spins a little bit, and the whole thing like shakes and moves and doesn't quite spin properly. So based on what I can figure out, it seems like I probably seized the compressor. Because
like it.
most people say that when that compressor seizes, the drag from the belt will overturn the clutch, and that white smoke that came out is the, material inside the clutch burning out. And then if you keep driving it with the clutch engaged, you could eventually have a fire. So I'm glad I didn't do that. But no air conditioning in the car and no simple fix. So I think I need to put a compressor in it. So I was doing a little digging and research, and I was like, well, maybe it just needs a clutch. But in looking into it, it's actually pretty much the same cost just to buy a Remand compressor with a clutch and replace it all in one go. And then you don't worry about having to diag it and replacing a clutch and having it not be the issue. So, not that I would do that because I'd take it apart and see if the compressor was seized. But being as it all comes as one assembly anyway for the same money as just the clutch, I ordered the whole assembly. So, hopefully I'll have that in a couple of days and can get the air conditioning working. And hopefully I don't have to go anywhere on my own off of work hours when Naomi's truck is not around, because I don't have any other vehicles that I'm currently driving that have air conditioning. So
It's not, because the Galant did not have a clutch in it when I put the car together, and I did a clutch in a not a clutch, AC compressor later.
Mhm.
You can get it in there. It's just not. You're gonna do a little Tetris to get it in there, but
it looks like I'll probably have to take out the motor mount on the driver's side
yes,
to get into there.
which is not
And
bad.
then if I jack the motor up a little bit, I think
I
it
think
should come out pretty easily.
I may have even reached it in, like passed it from the passenger side over, and then worked on it from the driver's side.
Did you also take out the rear motor mount then?
No, it'll go above it.
I feel like there's not enough space, but that's based on my memory right now. So, but you've done it. I haven't. So
You could also
I don't-
sneak it up from underneath, I think.
what would have been nice is knowing that it needed it about 4,000 miles ago,
Yeah.
not even 3,000 miles ago, when I had the entire cylinder head off the car. Because then it would have been like a 2-minute process.
Well, the Glide AC stopped working too, if that makes you feel better. I tried to turn it on the other day when I went for inspection sticker, and I didn't even hear the clutch come on at
Right.
all. So
Maybe
probably nothing in it.
that could be simple. That could be a fuse, maybe.
Or it's out of Freon. It won't come on.
Well, maybe. But nonetheless, it doesn't make me feel better, Andrew. No, because it's not your only car with air conditioning, and you don't live in the desert. So
We have humidity, my man.
still, it's different. Having lived in both places, if I had to choose one of the two places that not have air conditioning, it would be there. because many times I did not there. So here, it's like a matter of life or death. Like, man was not meant to live in the desert.
Yeah.
So-
And you're complaining about people having 1,000 horsepower cars, and yet you live in the middle of the desert.
It's a very different
You
thing.
shouldn't be living in the desert.
I
It's
shouldn't
like-
be living in the desert.
it's
Man
like-
wasn't meant to live. The hubris of man is why we live here in the first place. I
Well, it's
don't,
the hubris
I
of
don't deny
GM
it.
to make a 1,000 horsepower car.
It is. It's wrong. And you're right. Everything's wrong to somebody else. So I'm just being a NIMBY here, and I don't want to see it. Anyway, back to my air conditioning problem. So I ordered the part. It's less than $200 for a compressor and clutch assembly remand. So it's not terribly expensive. And then hopefully I can get it done without too much effort, and get it nice and cold again. So fingers crossed that it's simple. And actually, I was looking, if you buy it from O'Reilly's and you buy the AC kit, which is like the receiver, dryer, and a couple other parts, you also get a $50 O'Reilly's gift card from the AC company. So it'll actually be even cheaper. So it'll work out. But yeah, that's the Eclipse. Other than that, it's fine.
How's the shifter?
I've not complained about it because I compare it to cars that are 15 to 25 years older. and it's
Probably needs
fine.
bushings.
But it probably needs bushings.
It's a super easy
So-
thing. You can do it in like an hour.
I will look at that once I fix the air conditioning because I don't
Yeah.
care about the shifter right now.
Yeah.
It works, and I can't drive the car anyway because it's too hot. So we'll just live.
Yeah.
But, so that's the down date, which at the end of the day is not that big of a deal because the car is still drivable. It still works. It's not like I lunged the motor again. That would have been annoying. And then I finally started working on the Corolla. I think you asked me if I'd done a leak down test, and I thought I probably had. But the more I thought about it, I was like, I don't have a leak down tester. How would I have done a leak down test?
You did a compression test.
So I did a compression test, but I knew I did. And I had to re-familiarize myself with the numbers. And it made 150 across the board on 1, 2, and 4. And number 3, it made 75. So it's not zero compression, but it's a number lower than ideal for sure. And 75 is definitely a concern. The main reason I had done a compression test, if you remember back to when this all happened about a year and a half ago, pre-building the garage, it's why it hasn't gone any further. It's just been, everything was kind of backburnered while I was building the garage. But the car was, much like the Eclipse, was smoking heavily sitting at stoplights. And it seemed like it was crankcase pressure. So I checked everything that it could possibly be simple, and it wasn't. So then I went back and did a compression test, and that's when I found that cylinder number 3 had 75 PSI. So my initial thought was it's probably something piston or ring related, and that smoke is getting up from the crankcase up to the cylinder head and then coming out the breathers and the valve cover, because that's what smoke was coming from, was the valve cover breathers. So I bought a leak down tester from Performance Tool. Seems to be like the go-to, not Harbor Freight, but not Snap-on, like kind of middle of the road company, I guess. Has decent reviews, so I figure it's okay. Hooked that up last night to the shop air and the compressor, and went through the whole process of setting it up properly, and didn't set it up properly, and the readings confused me because it was like, oh, this thing is fine. So then went back and figured out what I did wrong, and set it properly and tested it again, and it shows 60% leak down.
Yeah, it's kind of
Which is-
measuring differential pressure, basically.
Basically what it is. It's the differential pressure. So you plug your shop air into the tool, and then you turn the regulator until one of the gauges is in the area where it says set. So that's you turn the regulator, and it sets the pressure on your main inlet, and then it balances it to basically, I guess, atmosphere. and the second gauge goes to where it says set, and that shows you that you can test it from there, and then you plug it into the spark plug hole with the quick connect on the machine. So then it shows the differential between the two. It went down to 60% pressure loss, which means that 60% of the air is going somewhere it's not supposed to go, basically. The gauge basically says that anywhere between 20 and 40% is acceptable. So 60% is not acceptable. At that point, you're supposed to listen for where the air is going, correct?
Yeah, if it's bad, it'll be
So
obvious.
you can pull the dipstick, see if it's coming through the into the crankcase. You can pull the radiator cap, see if you have bubbles in your coolant. You can go to the exhaust, see if it's coming out the exhaust. You can listen through a vacuum line. It's a carbureted car, so you can listen, put your ear right up to the carburetor, see if it's air coming through there, if it's a intake valve. Unfortunately, I couldn't hear anything. Nothing seemed drastic. I could feel a little bit of air coming through the dipstick tube, but just a little bit. Not enough that I probably would be concerned if I hadn't had a tester on there, but I guess that's probably it.
It's not. What were the other cylinders?
They were all 150.
Oh, yeah. So it was,
And
the
this
bad
one
one
was
is half
75.
half of what
Yeah.
it should be. Yeah,
Yep,
150 is
almost
like
exactly half.
acceptably healthy.
Yeah.
And then 75 is like it's basically dead.
Yeah, 75 is not doing much.
Yeah, the Volvo was easy because it was so bad.
It was just zero.
Yeah, it was hissing, like it was super loud, and then bubbling.
Yeah.
On different cylinders were bubbling out of the radiator. So,
Yeah, this was not doing that either. And I filled the radiator up so it had plenty of coolant in it, like right to the top, so I could see any
yeah,
bubbles.
it's
coming
probably
through
going
on
by
it.
the
And
rings.
That's
what it
my
sounds like.
guess, and it all makes sense. I was doing a little more digging because this is all new to me. I've never really dealt with heavy engine internal stuff before. Thankfully, all of my big engine problems have all been cylinder head related. So I did a little more digging and into diagnosis, and was reading the difference between a dry or a wet compression test. And basically they say that you put a tablespoon of oil in the cylinder in question, and you run a compression test again. And if the number changes, it'll tell you more where the problem is. Like, I guess if the number goes up, the compression number goes up, it will kind of prove that the rings of the issue because the oil is taking up some of that gap, I guess. I'm still digging into that, so if I have that backwards, I apologize. I have to read it again before I do it, but I think that'll be the next step. But I'm pretty sure that this is going to be an engine out.
Yeah, throw a little Marvel
process
Mystery in there and
versus-
do it.
Yeah, mystery oil or whatever. Just they say do a wet compression test, and then check the comparison number between the compression test you did before and then. So I'm going to do another dry test just to confirm the number, and then I'll do a wet test and see what happens if it changes. Because if I don't have to pull the whole motor out, I'd much rather pull the cylinder head off. But it sounds like I'm more than likely pulling the whole motor out. So, and it's also the first time I've ever really dealt with a non-overhead cam engine in any kind of way, which
That's an overhead cam.
you're doing it with the Volvo. It is not overhead cam.
That's a cam and block.
Yeah,
Weird.
it's a very early design. It dates back to the 70s.
I think, but it's like an 85. What you're using, car?
It's an 80.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Man, that's like ancient.
Yeah, the engine goes back to, I say the 70s, but I think that it's based, so it's a 3TC, which is based on the 2TC, and I think that goes back to like 67 or so.
That's got
Right.
push rods. Wild.
Yeah, it has push rod. It's a push rod Hemi.
Weird. How weird. I didn't know that at all. And I've looked at it. I thought it was just a overhead cam.
Definitely cam and block. So, but anyway, that's where we're at with that car. It's not positive, but hey, it's something moving right along. So it looks like a quick research. The T series 4 cylinders started in 1970. So it's a 70 to 85 pushrod overhead valve. The later ones were converted to a dual overhead cam. But the 2T and 3T are cam and block overhead valve. So and the difference there, I think the 3T is a 1.8 and the 2T is a 1.6. I think is really the big difference. It's just early or late, early Corolla. So anyway, hopefully that'll get done. Trying to get everything done for October because that's when all of the vintage Japanese car stuff is happening, whether it be the Route 66 Williams show or JCCS or my own personal Arizona Rising Sun Rally that I run. All of those dates are in October. So it'd be good to have all of the old Japanese cars running by then. So step number 1 is Corolla. I don't think it'll be down too long once I get it torn down, but I've said that 1,000 times, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's such, if it truly does, I mean, I saw the inside of the head or the under the valve cover. It was really clean. If it's really that like new, maybe you could pull the one piston and fit new rings and just kind of put it back together. Because
that sounds
why would
ambitious.
you need to rebuild the whole thing if the rest of it's working fine and it only has 10,000-ish miles on it?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just nervous that the whole thing is screwed up in however this is screwed up. Because obviously something was done incorrectly. Because a healthy engine that's been maintained, and I haven't owned it forever, but I made sure I changed the oil in it at least twice since I've had it, and I've only driven it 4,000 miles probably, and I haven't done anything bad to it. Although I will say it does have electric fans that are not wired up to anything with a temperature sensor. They just have a switch. So I guess prior to my ownership, somebody could have driven it and not turned the fans on and overheated it. And that might have caused damage that got worse as time went on. I guess would make sense. I did actually, in full irony, I do have on the shelf a kit for it that's very similar to the one in the Cressida that runs the switch off of a temperature probe so that it does come on automatically and you don't have to worry about switching it manually by hand. So maybe that's what happened. I guess that could, overheating can certainly damage rings, right? So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't overheated it, but that electric fan and a switch means somebody easily could have and got lucky and it ran fine afterwards. And I just am the unlucky one that's now dealing with the consequences.
This reminds me, I don't think I even mentioned it, the, sort of overheating. It didn't overheat on me, but the coolant lines on the Montero to the throttle body just split. It was just spraying coolant. Conveniently on the way, I was driving to my dad's garage to work on the Volvo, so it happened about halfway over there, which is only like 2 miles away. A little side quest for myself.
Side project.
I ordered some 3/8 heater hose for it, so I'm gonna swap those out. It made a lot of steam and leaked a good amount of coolant, but my gauge never went over half, and the scan gauge never went over 200, so I think it's fine.
And worst case scenario, the engine would just knock a little more.
I first I thought the head gasket let go because it was like coming out at the top, and it was steaming off down by the exhaust manifold.
Sure,
which is near the head gasket. So, yeah, that's got to get fixed. And then I almost forgot the upper driver's passenger side engine mount on the G20. Like, apparently was liquid filled and is now no longer liquid filled. And maybe that was that squeaking noise it was making. I thought it was the strut bar rubbing on one of the cables because it is.
That
but
would make sense.
maybe because that mount was starting to let go.
That would make sense then. And the noise you heard was air escaping from the liquid
or
filled
something,
mount
or it was just
until it
every time
collapsed.
because it was when you would let the clutch out, it would start to squeak when the motor would torque a little bit. So, yeah,
Yep.
that's I ordered a new one
Yep.
from. Didn't quite overnight it from Japan, but I got it from Japan. It's like $90.
Well, I'm gonna be
Yeah.
there in like 3 weeks. So my rental car
Interestingly,
better
I
be
have.
ready.
I think I
Jesus.
replaced the front roll one. I should have done the rear roll one when I had the subframe off to do the header. I don't know. I think I was in a hurry and I just didn't do it. I have it, so maybe I'll make a project and do the rear one and the top one here. And then looking it up, interestingly, the driver's side lower on the transmission is not available anymore. But that, at being only $60, I think is probably just a regular rubber mount, is what the price was. So I bet there's poly mounts for it if I really need it.
Probably.
Yeah.
And if you could put that one poly mount's not going to make a huge
If
difference.
it's still
as long as you
good,
have
I'll just leave it. 'Cause
some
I don't want to do
vibration
poly,
mounts
but,
elsewhere.
unless I have to. But because I like how.
Right. Well, I think it probably would be because even with that noise it was making before, I never noticed any significant movement in the engine when driving it.
And
Like
I
normally
like
when a mount is
how
bad, you can really
I
feel
like
it
how
clunk
smooth
around, and
well,
there
other
was
than
no
exhaust, I like how
clunking.
smooth and quiet the car is.
Yeah, no, that car is what I'm chasing every time I do something on the Eclipse because that car is just
Yeah.
such a fun car to drive. So
It's that was a really good car that
definitely
Chris
want
looked
that.
into that then I bought off him. So yeah,
as we
so
discussed
that's about
on
it.
the Discord yesterday.
That's all the project cars. Kind of a midsummer.
I mean, you quickly ballooned from
I got a bunch of side
just
quests,
working on the
as we
Volvo
say.
to having updates
So,
on 4 cars,
but
5 cars. Yep, and me too. And they keep growing every day because you keep driving the cars and they keep breaking. So I
whatever.
just lost the windshield in my company car today, totally unrelated. So again, I don't care. I'm just saying it's like
I don't
everything
mind.
needs something, right?
The only one that annoys me is the Crosstrek. That's everything else is whatever because they're just old cars, and I've come to terms with that, and that's why I have multiples, and I don't care. I'll just as long as you don't let it get beyond like one thing to do to them at a time. It's not too bad. It's manageable. If they break and then you fix it,
Sure.
that's fine. It's when they break and then you don't fix it and then it breaks again and then something else breaks and it starts to pile, then you kind of spiral.
I'm still playing catch up from my old life, but the Eclipse only needs the AC, so that is good. But yeah, everything needs a lot. But also, I wouldn't say that my cars were ever 100% sorted either, and that's what I'm working towards now. So it used to be when one thing broke, it was catastrophic because there were already 6 things that were like on the way out but working. Whereas now I'm trying to get it to the level of not having that issue and not having the acceptable level of disrepair, trying to have things like the Eclipse that everything worked just fine until the air conditioning let go, and then that was it. That's the only thing I had to fix technically to get the car running.
I'm only
usable again.
annoyed by the Crosstrek because it's Stephanie's daily driver, and it's new and the parts are expensive. So yeah,
right, as with all new cars. So I just, going back to the work conversation, I just did a an insurance claim on a 2020 Range Rover Velar, and all it was
Yeah.
a link arm in the rear that got hit on something and bent. One link arm, and just the 2-bolt link arm. Once you get the Land Rover labor rate
Isn't
and
these
the part in there is like a $600.
this is not an
job.
off-road vehicle, so
Not
what, like,
counting
what,
the
like,
alignment.
it can't take a rocket. It can't take a it can't take
Is
a
the
rocket.
Velar an off-road vehicle? It didn't even hit a
Oh, he's
rocket. It
driving
hit
a
the
cup
wheel on
car?
a curb and bent the lower link
Toe
arm.
link. Yeah, that's.
Yeah. Basically,
I mean, that's the
yes,
other thing. So
basically
it's
what
like,
happened.
any time spent on Stephanie's car is time that's not spent fixing the Volvo, or like getting my mom's car, the brakes on the Beetle fixed. That's what's annoying.
Sure. I think I mentioned last week the
Yeah.
Maverick paint issue
Did they get it all off?
with the overspray from the
The
rubber
detailer worked his
ceiling
magic?
on the roof. Yes, the shop
Look at
sent
the guy.
their detailer friend
Sent the
who
wolf.
does mobile detailing.
The wolf
Yeah,
of
I get the
detailing.
guy. Yeah, he's pretty good actually. I was surprised to exactly. I was surprised to learn that he does it part-time after working full-time all day, working for UPS. That seems like a lot, especially because he came here and did it outside when it was 105
Dude's got hustle.
degrees. But he does have the hustle, that's for sure. He did a really good job. He got it off without buffing, because if you buff, obviously you buff off any kind of that ceramic coat that's on there. But you can use a mild detergent and a mild clay bar, which is what he did to get it off. So it turns out I probably could have done it myself, but I also don't feel like I should have to, because it wasn't my fault. So I'm glad they stood behind it and they took care of it. And the truck looks excellent, so no complaints. It worked out. And I did learn now how
Oh,
to properly
interesting.
clay bar a vehicle with ceramic coating on it. So can be done, I guess. There was a lot of information on the internet that was saying you can't touch it at all, but it seems to be that.
Well,
that
yeah,
seems
I
to be
suppose if the
people who
ceramic
are
coat is done
probably trying
correctly,
to sell you more
you're
ceramic
just
coat.
pulling anything off the top of the surface of the ceramic coat. But then, it's like
Theoretically,
the old
yes.
joke about like Teflon. How do you make non-stick pans out of something that doesn't stick to anything? So, yeah, it's actually
Right. How does the Teflon stick to the pan itself, basically?
It's really hard,
Curing.
and it turns out it doesn't actually stick that well in it. You shouldn't use pans of Teflon on them, but yeah.
Yeah, turns out this is a bad idea. Anyway, yeah, so that's our project car life over here. I don't think we've done much else. We haven't touched the Mustang in a while just because of life, but that's hopefully change soon. And haven't touched any of the cars because I
And
want
you
to
fix
get
your
trying to focus on one thing at
you
a time.
fix your
The
approach
Eclipse
angle to the
braking
garage?
makes that a little difficult. But oh my God, you're right. My goodness, that's a huge update. So, as we talked about ad nauseum, I built a garage. Well, we had a garage built. I didn't build a garage. That's well beyond my skill set. And the biggest issue we had with the placement of the garage was that when having a car in the driveway that's immobile, like where the Mustang is being restored, to get a car into the backyard to go into the garage, there's a really tight angle you had to make that was between the aluminum stanchion for our back porch cover. We have a patio in the back that has an aluminum roof over it, and on the corner of that patio is an aluminum pole, and then a little more than 1 car width away is the wall that divides our yard from the neighbors, which is a concrete block wall, made famous in AOT lore by the cat jumping over my shoulder and me launching the Starion into said wall many, many years ago when the Starion ran. So I could not really make it in and out of the backyard to the garage by myself without somebody spotting either the pole or the wall. I could, but it required like a lot of stopping, getting out of the car, checking clearances, and making sure I didn't hit something. And it was especially difficult in a larger, wider vehicle with only a driver's side mirror like the Camaro. Also, much higher stakes because I don't want to hit the original paint on either the wall or the aluminum pole with that. And I actually did scrape the pole lightly once with the pickup truck. So it is not ideal. So we were trying to figure out the best way to rectify this situation. So what we did was we actually just moved the pole inwards about, I don't know, about 4 feet temporarily, and had a concrete guy come and built an edge up so that the driveway used to be about 10 inches away from the edge of the patio. And there was just a dirt path between the two. So, and the patio was taller. So not only would you possibly hit the pole, but you could easily hit your tire on the corner of the patio and blow a tire out or damage a wheel. So what the concrete guys came and did was they filled in that probably 10-inch wide dirt area that ran the length of the side of the house and the patio, and they elevated it on a ramp so it ramps up over those 10 inches about the 1.5 to 2 inches higher the patio is from the driveway, so that now when you drive in the backyard you can turn and you're not going to clip the edge of the patio. You go up over it. And the pole has been moved, like I said, probably about 4 feet or so to the right. So you can drive the car over the corner of the patio without worrying about damaging the car on anything. And that it gets you far enough away from the wall that you're not going to hit the wall anymore either. So it cost a couple of bucks because concrete is expensive, but they're really good at what they do, and they did a really professional job, and it looks really good. It looks like it belongs there. So I'm very happy with it. It makes it so I can get a car in and out now without having somebody else to help spot me and guide me through. And it's going to make life much easier and much more enjoyable. So super happy about that.
Nice. Anything else?
Yes, very nice.
It's
I don't
a
think
good
so.
update
I think it's
episode.
probably
It's been a
it
while
for
since
car
we've done that.
stuff.
We're actually getting stuff done, but it's summertime. That's usually what happens. So
Yeah, well, not here, but actually, I talked real fast about using the swamp cooler in the garage because the first time I've done it, it hit 116 here the day that I was working on the crawler in the garage, and in the garage it was just about 100 because we have it
just
obviously
about 100.
insulated,
Sounds good.
so it doesn't get quite as hot in the garage. Just about 100. 15% humidity though, so it's fine. But I turned on the swamp cooler, and the temperature dropped to 87 degrees
So,
over an
yeah.
hour and a half I was working on the car. So, I mean, 87 degrees within direct, like, air of the swamp cooler. It went down about 8 degrees in the rest of the garage. But the air coming out of the swamp cooler onto you feels much cooler than that. It almost felt chilly standing in front of the car. So it made it very reasonable to work on the car,
Mm-hmm.
which is the whole point of the garage anyway, right? So if the direct sun is off of you and you have that cool air from the swamp cooler, it made it very comfortable to work on the car. I wasn't even sweating.
Nice.
So I'll take that any day. The only disadvantage is the swamp cooler is not quiet. It's a big fan that's going the whole time. So if you're sensitive to loud noises, it can be annoying. And if you have like the TV on, you can't really hear it very well. But if I'm out there by
Does your
myself,
TV do
I'll
Bluetooth?
just
You
wear
can just
headphones and
Bluetooth
work
your
that way.
headphones.
So it does. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Noise
TV does
canceling
Bluetooth,
headphones.
or music does Bluetooth or whatever. And just I usually do music or podcasts. I usually do music or podcasts anyway when I'm working on cars. Just because the TV can be distracting, but I will put it on and watch like a 24-hour race or a NASCAR race sometimes working on cars, but in general, it's usually podcast or music. So I can also crank the music way louder than TV, so can overpower the fan. But anyway, if you ever come out here in the summertime, you'll get to experience it yourself. But it is very reasonable and nice, and I'll be able to get a lot more stuff done during the summer months here now than I would not have been able to get done before.
All right, cool.
So very much like people who
Yeah.
squirrel themselves away all winter building cars in New England, right?
Is that a podcast? All right, cool.
Anyway,
All right,
that's it. That's a podcast.
Out Off Topic Podcast on Facebook if you want. Out Off Topic on Instagram. I'm Racing Anger on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, wherever you want to hang out. I'm around. Come visit our Discord. Our Discord's fun. Probably more fun than anything else out there. Because there's no ads or anything, and there's not a bunch of crazy people. So, like we had a cool discussion about pizza today.
We did. Or do all of
yeah,
the belong
that's a
in
hot
Mexican
topic.
food.
I don't know. I almost banned you for that.
Yep. I had that conversation last week. Yeah. I'm not saying it's traditional.
Where can they
I'm
find
just
you, Brad?
saying that I like it. So,
Yeah, I
personal
heard.
preference. Absolutely nowhere. I'm still banned for some reason from Instagram, which also is connected to Threads. I've personally pretty much banned myself from Facebook years ago. I stopped using it, so I guess I can still go on there if I need to get in touch with somebody. But right now, I'm kind of in the dark. I do still have access to Instagram through the Auto Off Topic page and the Scale Autogas page, but I just haven't been using social media other than Discord lately. I did take a bunch of pictures of some stuff for the Scale Autocast page. I just need to get around to posting it. But yeah, I'm still completely banned from Instagram for some reason. My account's still there. I can see it through the Auto Topic page. It has not been hacked. I can't get an answer as to why I can't get in, but I can't get
Weird.
in. So we'll see. Hopefully I figure it out. If not, I guess I'll start a whole new page and I'll
right.
come up with a name better than
All right.
a bunch of
You guys
letters and
analog?
numbers.
And name for the roses.